Financial independence, living off dividends, retiring early, and the whole FIRE movement, they are all very trendy topics. The idea that we could do only what we want to do and not what we have to is very appealing. But is it true? Is it realistic? Well, let's find out. So this video is going to be a little bit different because the main part of it is actually one of the lessons from my course called Dividend Investing for Beginners. In it, I teach everything that is needed to start your journey as a dividend investor without making typical beginner mistakes. So in this lesson, I calculate the average cost of living and go through different scenarios to see what is actually needed to achieve financial independence, to achieve a possibility of living off dividends. Okay, so let's roll the video. So maybe you want to treat dividends only as some extra income every quarter. Or maybe you want to reinvest it all and just want to compound your wealth. But if your goal is to live off dividends, then let's make some calculations. First, we have to define the cost of living. The average cost of living in the United States right now is estimated to be around $3,500 per month. That is $42,000 per year. So how much do we have to invest to get such an amount from dividends? Well, let's say we choose to invest in a dividend king with the highest dividend yield right now. That is an impressive 9.3%. That means that we would have to invest $455,000 to get $42,000 per year through dividends. And if we were to invest in a dividend aristocrat with the highest dividend yield currently, which is 6.1%, we would have to invest $700,000 to get $42,000 per year through dividends. But investing in a single company with a very high dividend yield may be too risky. So if we were to invest with an average yield for a dividend aristocrat, which is 2.8%, we would have to invest $1.5 million to cover our average cost of living. But if we don't have $1.5 million lying around, we can actually achieve those results with much smaller amounts. But it would take a fair amount of time. So let's make some more calculations. Let's say we will invest $1,000 every month, that is $12,000 a year. And let's see when we can reach with our dividends the average cost of living. But because there is something called inflation, we will have to first calculate the cost of living through the next, let's say, 30 years. So the average inflation in the US for the last 30 years was around 2.4%. So with such inflation, we get our cost of living through the years. So that is where we want to get with our investments to live off dividends. Okay, let's run some simulations. If we would buy a high yield dividend stock, let's say 5.5% yield, so nothing totally crazy, but a nice yield. And let's say that this dividend will grow by 2%. So, as we can see, after 30 years, we are nowhere near the cost of living. We invested $360,000 through the 30 years, and we are getting over $35,000 as dividends. So that is very nice. But the cost of living is now over $83,000. So maybe investing in dividend growth will create better results. Well, let's check. We still invest $1,000 every month for 30 years, but our investment will start with a dividend yield of just 2.8%. That is an average yield for dividend aristocrats. And let's assume it will grow at a rate of 5%. So that is actually a bit lower than the average growth of dividend aristocrats. Well, we are still nowhere near covering our life costs, but the result is actually a bit better, because after 30 years, we are getting $41,500 through dividends. That is $6,500 more than with a high-yield dividend with smaller growth. So what has to happen to allow us to live off dividends? Well, let's see how our graph will change when we start to reinvest the dividends. First, let's take a look at the high-yield stock. The only thing we are going to change is the fact that this time we will reinvest our dividends. This is the power of compounding. Because we reinvested the dividends, now after 30 years, we are getting $128,000 through dividends. And how will it look when we reinvest high growth dividend stock? It is almost the same result with over $129,000 in dividends. I think that the key takeaway here is that it does not really matter what is your financial goal, whether we want to live off dividends or we want to treat them only as a part of our income, or those investments are just there so that we can feel financially secure. The most important lesson we can take from that simulation is that no matter what is our goal, time and reinvesting the dividends are the key to compounding. And compounding is the key to long-term wealth.
I am really amazed at the power of reinvesting dividends. It is such a simple idea, and yet if we give it time, it becomes this incredible, unstoppable creature that just can destroy all our financial problems. Well, maybe I'm a bit exaggerating, but it is incredibly powerful. So if you are a beginner investor and you want to learn more about dividend investing and all the possibilities that it creates, then of course I encourage you to check out my course. There is very little fluff in it. I wanted to make it as compressed and packed with knowledge as I could to save you as much time as possible. And if you would like to see another video, then I think you may find this one quite interesting. In it, I go through my whole process of finding, analyzing and valuing investment ideas, and on the way, I show you all the websites that I think are the best at these tasks. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.